our next honorable guest.
Fair. So, Ms. Viraj Gandhi is an accomplished product security specialist with abilities to nurture the DevSecOps environment through right approach. And today, Viraj has taken a topic of building the right partnerships with the security teams and the development teams, how they work together, how they come together to have a very agile development approach, but at the same time keeping the organization workflows secure. So may I request Nehal to uh, yeah allow Viraj to present.
Thanks, Dhaval, for introducing me. Thanks, Neil, for giving me this opportunity. Hello, everyone. Today, I'd like to speak about the topic, the security collaboration, nurturing the right partnerships. Let me briefly tell about myself. I'm in a role of a product security engineer. Currently, I recently joined as a senior staff product security engineer at the SailPoint. Prior to that, I was a product security engineer at the ServiceNow. And before I plunged into the cybersecurity space, I have spent a decade in a software development, and that really helped me in partnering with the engineering team when it comes of working of building the security in the development lifecycle. So my day-to-day role is about writing the security policy around the software development lifecycle, evaluating the automation tools for the SaaScan, DAScan, and also training the engineers, bringing the security awareness, uh, and building the security champions among the engineering team. It really helping me in influencing the engineering leaders to implement the secure software development lifecycle through the trade-off conversation on day-to-day basis and making sure we are balancing the business as well as we are adding the security guardrails before releasing the product. Today, I will be talking about the security collaboration in terms of the application security context. That's what I'm in this space of the cybersecurity. So why there is a need of the security culture? These days, the threat landscape, it keeps on changing in a fast pace of the digital transformation. So in every organization, security is very crucial and it has to be embedded into everything. The security is not just the role for responsibility for the security engineer, but it's the responsibility for everyone in the organization. That's why we need the security culture which help in maintaining and heightening the line of a defense. Now, how to build this security in the organization? There is a dilemma between the product manager, between the QA engineer, between the developer when it comes about the security. The challenges are like for the product manager, for them, they always want to release the product based on the competency in the market. They are always working with the deadlines. For the QA engineer, they always struggle in finding the security vulnerabilities because of the lack of the skill gap and the expertise. And for the customer, they struggle in asking the question around the security or understanding the security vulnerabilities. And as well for the developers, when it comes about fixing the vulnerabilities, they always consider fixing the security bug as like a roadblocker, like delaying their release cycle, reprioritizing their work, impacting their work on the project, right? And so why there is a importance of investing in the security culture for the organization. And in order to invest, bring the security awareness, we need to have the collaboration. We need to get the buying from the leadership from top to down, which helps in building this security awareness in the organization. So there are a number of the ways I would like to talk about how to have this security collaboration in the software development life cycles specifically. The one thing you can do is to start doing the training, start building the security champions through the training. The security training can be of different level, the basic level for all the people in the organization. You can have the intermediate in-depth level where you provide the security coding principles, security coding guidelines to the developers, which can help in making them as a security champions, which help in further in building, improving the security posture of their own team. And the security champions, it can be the developers, can be the analysts, can be the product manager, right, which can further help to push the security posture of the team forward, and also in cementing and sustainable security culture. The next is about the talk about having the secure development life cycle, right? So it says about implementing, embedding the security in every phase of the development life cycle. So it needs the collaboration, not just through the training, not just through the building the security champions, but when it comes of designing the software, right? When the architecture review is happening of any new feature, at that time there has to be the engagement, there has to be the involvement of the security team, right, which can help up in doing the threat modeling, which can help in doing the secure design review, providing the guideline, and helping out in listing the threats, the attack surface which they see while still the design is still at the inception phase. The security champions who have gone through the training, they can also help in, like, outlining the list of the threats while doing the design phase. And also, like, once the development is done, when the QA are doing the testing, they should have the security mindset. They should also not just do the testing around the regression testing or usability performance testing, but with the security mindset also they need to do the testing. So we need the collaboration of the QA engineer while they are performing the testing, as well as, like, at the end when the product is about to release, we need the collaboration from a security engineer again to do a eye roll about doing the security review, making sure that the security guardrails are being placed, making sure the SASCAN DASCAN has been run, and making sure that all the third party library which are incorporated into the software are being latest, they are not vulnerable to any open vulnerabilities and all. So we need to build the security in end-to-end CI/CD pipeline, and also making sure that what are the vulnerabilities we are noticing at any phase are getting fixed, and also we are providing the patch to the customer. There is the responsibility for customer to also to make sure that they are taking the latest patch, applying, not missing any of the patch that has the open vulnerabilities. um, and also, one way to improve the security collaboration is to adopt the DevOps, and the DevOps will help in bridging the engineers and the security team, and making sure that security check are happening at every phase of the test, at every phase of the build, and that will help in, like, having the faster release cycle. And also the cost wise also it will be very effective if the vulnerabilities, if the security bugs are already detected at the early phase rather at the later phase. Let me just give you one recent example what I came across in my organization. There was the high secure vulnerability reported to us. It came from the bounty program what we had in our organization. So it was like publicly out there, publicly known, right? And I had to, like, file a security bug, work with the engineering team in prioritizing this particular high secure security vulnerability, and making sure that they are fixing and they are releasing, coming up with the release for this particular vulnerability. There was a lot of conversation, lot of meetings happen in order to come up with the solution, because what we detected, this vulnerability was lying from it was sitting in the legacy code, and the same pattern we noticed in couple of the plugins which were heavily used by the customer. So the customer splash zone was huge, and in order to come with a solution, making sure that we are not disrupting the end-to-end the day-to-day work done by the customer using that functionality, right? It became the functionality, though it was like a vulnerable core, vulnerable functionality, right? So a lot of back and forth conversation, trade-off conversation happen, and based on like providing some data points of the likelihood, the impact factor of this risk, what the threat looks like, and how the chain of the attack is possible with this publicly known vulnerable risk, what we have reported, right? And having those conversations with the leaders among the engineer and coming up with the path forward of the solution really helping, like, coming closer with the engineering team, building the trust with them, and also partnering them in the future, as well as for coming up with a better solution for this high risk vulnerable code, right? So that's a one example how, like, day to day we go with the engineering team in the trade-off conversation, and how we, like, how risk rating and how providing them some security education, what's the likelihood impact factor around the vulnerability will help in making them understand and building the trust that we are not causing any disruption in their business functionality, but we are just helping in releasing the product more secure. So this is the, I already mentioned that, if you are finding any vulnerability, with the security collaboration with the engineer QA team at the early phase would be more cost effective, as well as less disruptive in the in the release cycle. And at the end, I'll just like to say that, consider the security engineer as a guardrails, helping in releasing the business solution, not causing any disruption, and that way you can partner and build the relationship with the engineer. Thank you.
Thank you, Viraj. That was very nice presentation and very interactive.
Yes, actually, I loved, the way you put that point that development process and security checks has to go hand in hand, because people sometimes get confused that always security checks come at the last. They get confused. And, oh, I'm like, your authority. No, you are the partner in the DevSecOps.
Yes, and like we are not there to, like, as a roadblocker, right? Many times security engineer are considered as a roadblocker. They may impact the timeline because now they have
Yeah.
found some high security bug. But we are not here to cause any disruption. We are just here to help them out in securing the business solution, what they are going to release to the market, which is going to also help in building the trust among the customer, right? If the customer trusts that, okay, this organization is always making sure they are going to deliver the secure solution, that's how we can build the trust among the customers, right? So consider as a security engineer as a guardrails, not as a roadblocker or the
Yes, yes. And
disruptive
also,
person. So,
I have seen that many times the business process also change, right? So
mhm.
there comes the role of the security team to enable this transformation of a business process. They should be more also proactive in guide the application team rather than after all the development work is done and then you find a fault. There should be actually a product architect and security architect should work together and find out the best steps available, whether you are talking about an data exchange through APIs or you are talking about retrieving your keys while performing some programming function, or you even think about, say, validating your users certain sensitive action while they are taking some steps in the application. So there always has to be more proactive role. I think nowadays security people will take a proactive role in application design. So I think that it all starts at the design phase rather than after the fact when all the hours has been put into the development process. So that's
Yeah.
where I think more transformation, I would say. Earlier,
Mhm.
security team was just approving the application after it's all built, finished, and ready to deploy. And then it's now it's a each phase of the project, security team reviews it. And also, it's more of even a project management function, I think of that there should be proper prioritization of such requests to review. Otherwise, the development team will think that, oh, I'm waiting for the security team. They're gonna take a week or two, and I will sleep. No, then you have to plan the things properly on both the ends. So
Mhm.
security team is not also pressurized to fast track the approval. At the same time, the development team also don't feel like they are neglected or they have to wait too much.
Yeah, totally agree to you. And also, like, the security team, we cannot be at everywhere, right? The way the organization starts scaling, right? So for
Mm-hmm.
that, like, rather building the army of the security engineer, that's where like we need to have this security awareness, security culture, right? We need to embed that security mindset among the developers, among the QA engineers, among the architects, right? That will help, like, they're gonna build the security posture, right? Once the QA wears the hat of security, and they wears the hat of like, the black hat, they start spotting the vulnerability. That's where, like, we are easing our own work, right? We can
Mm-hmm.
focus on more other high priority of the work. So
Yes, yes. And also, I think there will also be an evolvement of the tools the developer use. In today's world, they are still using 15-year-old authentication methods, or they're using old MFA techniques. It has to be a thought process given from the go that if I'm designing given application, if at a project level, if decisions have been made for certain functionality of the product, then you should also think about security of the product. You should also think about the data access governance of the
mhm.
product, whether it's a of the self product, SaaS based product, or it's an enterprise built custom product or project application for that users. So that's where again the consideration comes. If you take into account those aspects, then you are actually taking care of the security aspects and compliance aspect. The compliance
Yeah.
comes naturally if you naturally follow the needs of the business, if you naturally follow the guidelines of your industry. So you are right in that culture of security. Once that gets infused into the development process, the agile process, it things automatically get taken care of.
Yeah, that's why they say that it's a need of shifting the left, right? That's what
Mhm.
these days the organization is
So,
trying to
Viraj,
achieve. So
if currently, sorry to interrupt you. So, if currently my application is running and I want to add certain security norms, how can I add that?
So your application is already being used by customer, it's already in the market. Okay, and you want to add some new functionality, making sure it's secure.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like for any future, I would say try to engage the engineering team, right? When you have planned that, okay, this is the release cycle for this particular plugin, for this feature, right? And what features you are introducing, try to engage the engineer at the design phase itself, so they can help in doing the security review through the threat modeling, telling you what are the risk threats we are seeing, right? So you can mitigate at the design phase. And also, once you are done with your implementation, your code, right, make sure it goes through the security review. Make sure that you are running your static analyzer, which will do the code analysis, which and also the dash. All those tooling will also help in spotting out any vulnerability, any hard coded credential left in the code, right? And that's how, like, you can get the security sign up, you can release. And most of the organization, they do the pen testing, right? So if anything has been missed out with a different perspective, the pen tester will also help in detecting this vulnerability. And at the end also, like, most of the organization also have the bug bounty program, right? So that also help in, like, finding some really very interesting bug. And that's how we can make sure that our products is getting more secure, right? So
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Currently,
So
people are suggesting like you have more secure authentication. Also, you have some backend tool is you have to secure. So, is it like any organization can adopt any security best practices anytime?
yeah, I think yeah,
yes.
there's never late. Yeah, it's always the right time to adopt the best practices. Yes.
Yeah, and as the technology evolves, right, maybe that secure solution might not be valid after a five
Yeah.
years, right? So again, we need to revisit. Again, we need to revisit the tooling what we are using to identifying our vulnerabilities and all. So it's a constantly evolving,
Yeah,
right?
I
So
think both
Sometimes
the
business
tooling,
are
yeah, the
sometimes
testing
business
tools,
are
yeah.
afraid to adopt this new technology. They are not like how gonna affect my business? Is it kind of my business workflow is interrupting? How much risk I have, and that kind of afraid they are having.
I know,
So
yeah. Sometimes organizations are aware of adopting new technology with the scare that, okay, if I, adopt new solution, new method, it might disrupt my current production. So they take so long time, and that delay becomes their sore point, point of failure. So yes, there should be also a separate track within the security team and development teams where they can try out the new technologies, they can try out the new solutions that they might then ingest into their application process, into their security process. So I think, yeah, this is something that's always a fight of bandwidth between, the production work versus the nice to have work and the evaluation work. But I think organizations should now give a more thought of proactive defense and proactive preparation.
Yeah, so true. And like it's always easy to adopt the new secure solution when any new customer is in onboarding. But for existing customer, right, there is always a fear of like when it comes of asking them to apply this patch, right? So there are a couple of the ways the organization do is like the opt-in, opt-out approach where it's like up to customer, right? Whether they are accepting this risk by avoiding applying the patch, or they are eagerly waiting and taking that patch by making sure that they will fix any disruption happens by applying the patch or not. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, truly said, truly said. Yeah. Any other question? Yeah, I think it
Viraj
was,
explained so much
yeah.
nicely,
Yeah, in all,
and
like, simple flow, easy flow,
mhm.
you explained it that, what is the right, culture should be there. And I think you must be helping the people, be at Rainbow Secure also helping, trying to help the clients adopt better practices by working with partners and other cybersecurity company so that we help them in holistic way.
So, yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so
Mm.
much.
Yeah, thank